It's time to talk about databases a bit. So, what is a database? Essentially, a database is organized collection of data. Nothing else, nothing more. Um, Often, today, we're using the databases in the electronic format. So, in the Excel lists, in any tables essentially that we have, or maybe in certain JSON files. Probably we're even using databases in the shape that we have absolutely no idea that the database is sitting behind. But we can also go ahead and find even simpler examples of the databases that are not even stored in the electronic format. And one of the examples of databases or simple table is essentially a shopping list. So shopping list itself usually contains two basic columns for us. So one is a product name and the another one is a quantity. So product name for in this column will fit all the information about the product which we need to buy. So this product can be, I don't know, milk, eggs, anything that we actually need to buy, and the quantity is going to be a number of the items that we should buy, or a certain different measure like a kilo or something like this. A liter doesn't really matter. So our table here is a perfect example of a relational way of storing the data. So we have a certain schema and we're fitting our data inside this schema. So if we talk about the relational databases, we're essentially doing something really similar to what we just run through with a shopping list. So we will go and we will store the data inside the tables. And those tables essentially are containing all the data. So we will have probably multiple tables in our database, and we will manipulate this data using a specific language which is called SQL. So we will query the data, meaning we will write our statements to retrieve the data, to create, to update the data, etc. So the SQL itself is quite a powerful tool, and it's actually a standardized tool, standardized language, which is using quite simple syntax, very similar to English language, and it enables us to retrieve the data from the databases. But it's not doing just this, it actually enables us also to do joins of different tables, obviously by certain logical criteria. We can do filtering, we can do sorting, grouping, we can even execute certain mathematical functions or any other functions that we want to. So essentially with the SQL, we can do truly a lot with the relational databases. So we have many use cases for the relational databases, such as we can use them obviously as a database for any application development, but we can also use the relational databases for the data analytics. Those are just two basic examples. Because I guess a majority of the people, especially in the business, is pulling the data from certain data source, maybe SQL database, inside a pivot of the pivot Excel tables, and then they're doing a certain manipulation similar as we would do with the SQL. So we are going to focus ourselves in the next few videos on the Microsoft SQL Server. So I will run you through the installation and everything, but it's really important before we go to the installation, to understand why do we actually use the SQL. So in my opinion, the SQL is quite a good place to start with when you're doing a certain development. It's really mature product. It is really good product, but it is also a fairly heavy product. So you might go on YouTube and search for learn SQL in 15 minutes, but quite frankly, this is not going to be of any value for you. The SQL, the syntax is quite simple, and you will probably be able to manage it in a matter of a few hours or days. But to understand the complete concept behind the SQL, this is going to take time. This is going to take years. Obviously, building a couple of tables and storing data inside is not going to be much of a problem, but really to manage completely the SQL server, this is going to be something else. Also, SQL is quite pricey, so obviously we have a free versions. You have, even in the Microsoft world, you have a free version with the Microsoft Express version of this SQL, but it is resource-wise expensive, so you still need to install it somewhere. There are certain services running, a memory is being allocated. There are, a significant amount of resources being used by the SQL. This is kind of a bad things about it. The good thing is it is standardized. So the SQL is standardized. So even if you switch between different types of the SQL server, from Microsoft to, I don't know, some other SQL, understanding the syntax from one to another shouldn't be any problem, because majority of the statements are very much the same. And this is quite good. Also, the good thing is that probably already said it, that the SQL is a very, very mature product, and his performances are very well optimized, but you will still need to be quite careful in certain things. The security is very well maintained, so you can do really a lot of things and specify in detail what a given user can do. Even on a row level, so not just on a table or a column level, we can really drill in on the row level what a user can see and what can you do with a certain amount of data. So this is really great, and obviously the one of the best features of the SQL server is that you can multiple users can connect at the same time and do certain things on the database. There's a lot of topics that needs to be covered here, so I'm just going to stop right there, and we will first go ahead and do the installation of the Microsoft SQL Express version, so the free one. I'm going to install the Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio to work directly with the databases, and then afterwards we will build the database, do a couple of tables, etc., etc. So we're going to build upon it, and hopefully this is going to be, I hope, beneficial for you, and to see is the SQL really a good place for you or not. So thank you very much, and talk to you soon.